Hey there! In today's video, we're going to be going over the 2022-2023 TMSCA General Math Test number 13. Let's do it. Alright, number 31. 15 degrees Celsius equals how many degrees in Fahrenheit? Alright, so if we have a Celsius number, the way we convert that to Fahrenheit is by doing the following. We take 9/5 of the Celsius value and then add 32 to get the Fahrenheit. So in this case, the Celsius value is 15. So 9/5 of 15 is just 27. So this all simplifies to 27. 27 plus 32 is 59. So that means that 15 degrees Celsius is just 59 degrees Fahrenheit. And that's your answer. Next, number 32. If the number 140 is increased by 50%, and if that result is then decreased by 50%, what is the final result? Alright, so you might just think it's an increase by 50, it's a decrease by 50, it stays the same, but that's wrong. So what we first need to do is we need to do 140, and what does an increase by 50% mean? That just means that you're taking the current number and basically just multiplying it by 1.5, because you still retain the original number, and then you're just adding 50% of it. So 140 times 1.5 is just 210. Alright, now we need to decrease this result by 50%. So that means you're just going to divide it by 2. So 210 divided by 2, that's just 105. And that's your answer. Next, number 33. 126 times 10 to the power of 8 divided by 4.2 times 10 to the power of 3. Alright, so this might seem like a pretty complicated problem and a lot of maths to do, but it's actually pretty simple. So we have 126 times 10 to the power of 8 over 4.2 times 10 to the power of 3. Alright, so with this problem, just like you would do if you had like x power 1 over x power 2 or something like that, you can actually split this up. So what you can do is you can divide this and divide this because they're multiplying. So really, this kind of looks like this. 126 divided by 4.2 times 10 power 8 divided by 10 power 3. Alright, so 126 divided by 4.2, that's pretty simple. That just simplifies to 30. Now, here's where things get slightly tricky. When you have the same number but a different exponent, all you have to do is just subtract the bottom exponent from the top. So it would just be 8 minus 3. That gets you 5, and then you just have 10. So you have 30 times 10 and then power 5. So you might think this is the answer, but that is not the answer yet. So what we need to do is abide by the laws of scientific notation. So scientific notation is a way of writing a number in the form of a times 10 power b, where a is greater than 1 but less than 10. Right now, our scientific notation, 30 times 10 power 5, is meeting the requirement for 10 power b, but a is not less than 10. So what we need to do is we need to make this a 3. But when we move this decimal place once, we got to increase the power by 1. So this becomes 3 times 10 power 6. And that's your answer. Next, number 34. A line passes through the points -4, 6, and 8y, and has a slope of 1/6. What is the value of y? Alright, the way we find slope is, but let's take these two coordinates, and let's just say that this is coordinate 1 and this is coordinate 2. Alright, so the way we find slope is just y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And that gets us our slope, so we're just going to call that the m value, okay? So in this case, we know our m value, that's just 1/6. And our x2, that's just 8, and our x1, that's just -4. So 8 minus -4. And then we have y2, which is what we don't know yet, and minus y1. y1 is just 6. So when we write this entire thing again, we get y minus 6 over 8 minus -4 equals 1/6. Alright, so the bottom, that simplifies to 8 plus 4. 8 plus 4 is 12. Alright, so now we have y minus 6 over 12 equals 1 over 6. Alright, now this is where the problem gets actually really easy, but it might get a bit complicated if you don't follow along. So we have 12 and 6. 12 is just 6 times 2. So that means if 12 is 6 times 2, that means y minus 6 is going to be 2 times 1. 2 times 1, that's just 2. So that means y minus 6 equals 2. If y minus 6 equals 2, then y equals 8. And that's your answer. Next, number 35. How many permutations can be made of 15 items taken 2 at a time? Alright, so this is a permutation problem. The formula for solving permutation problems is n factorial divided by n minus r factorial. Alright, so in this case, our n value is 15, and our r value is 2. Alright, so when you replace this, this becomes 15 factorial divided by 15 minus 2 factorial, which is just 13. So it becomes 15 factorial divided by 13 factorial. Alright, now we can solve this pretty easily. But first, what is a factorial? A factorial is when you have a number. So let's just say n factorial. That's just when you take n and multiply it by every number before it till 1. So for example, n factorial will just be n times n minus 1 times n minus 2 times n minus 3 all the way to 1, right? So for example, if we had 5 factorial, that would be 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. Alright, so now we can solve this. So 15 factorial would just be 15 times 14 times 13 times 12, and then all the way to 1. And then 13 factorial will just be 13 times 12 times 11 times 10, and then all the way to 1. Now there's a pattern here. As you can see, the numerator and the denominator both have this 13 to 1 range, right? So what we can do is we can cancel this out. So this and this cancel out. So it's just 15 times 14 remaining. 15 times 14 is just 210, and that's your answer. Next, number 36. If f of x is equal to x cubed, and g of x is equal to 10 minus 3x, and h of x is equal to the square root of x, then what is the value of g of f of h of 9? Alright, so these are three different functions. So we have h of 9. So in this case, the 9 is taking the value of x in the h function. So all we have to do is, if h of 9, then that's just the square root of 9, which is 3. Alright, so that means this entire thing simplifies to 3. So now we have g of f of 3. Alright, so now 3 takes x spot in the f function. So f of 3 is equal to 3 cubed. 3 cubed is just 27. So now we have this entire thing reduced to 27. So all we have now is g of 27. Okay, so that means 27 takes the place of x in the g function. So g of 27 is equal to 10 minus 3 times 27. Alright, so 3 times 27 is 81. So 10 minus 81 is negative 71, and that's your answer. Next, number 37. A bag contains a combination of 150 red and blue gummy bears. What is the number of blue gummy bears in the bag if 28% of the gummy bears are not red? Alright, if 28% of the gummy bears are not red, that means 28% are blue. Alright, so all we have to do is we have to find 28% of 150. However, that might be a bit complicated, so let me teach you a trick. When you have a percent of b, that's the same thing as b percent of a, which means instead of finding 28% of 150, we can find 150% of 28. And the reason that's easier is 150% is the same thing as multiplying the number by 1.5. So 28 times 1.5. That gets us 42, and that's your answer. Next, number 38. If x cubed is less than 125, what is the sum of all positive integers x that satisfy the inequality? Alright, let's go. So, off the bat, we can see that 5 cubed is exactly 125, which means 5 is the greatest number in this condition. So that means all the numbers of x has to be less than 5. But it also says that x has to be a positive integer, which means it has to be greater than 0. The only numbers that satisfy this condition of x are 1, 2, 3, and 4. So all we have to do is add them. So 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4. That's just 10, and that's your answer. Next, number 39. A triangle has vertices located at the coordinates -5, -2, -1, -1, and 2, 6. What is the length of the longest side of the triangle? Alright, for this problem, we have the coordinates -5, -2, -1, -1, and 2, 6. So what we need to do is we need to use the distance formula between these two coordinates, and these two coordinates, and figure out which one is the biggest distance. Alright, let's do that. So, the easy way we can do this is, instead of choosing each single set of coordinates and then finding the distance, we can just choose the coordinates with the biggest gap between the x's and y's. So for example, this one, right? Let's call this coordinate A, right? It has -5 and -2. And the coordinate C right here has the coordinates 2 and 6. Alright, so in that case, -5 and 2 have a bigger distance of 7 compared to the other two values. And then -2 and 6 have a difference of 8. So that means these two, A and C, are the farthest apart, which means that's going to be the longest side of the triangle. So all we have to do is do the distance formula on -5, -2, and 2, 6. That's pretty simple. So all we have to do is find the difference between the x's and the difference between the y's, square them, and then find the square root. So let's do that. So first, let's write out the formula. So it's just x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. Alright, so x2 minus x1, which is -5 minus 2. That's just -7. So it doesn't really matter what you choose, but it's -7 or 7. Let's just say -7. -7 squared is 49. Alright, now, y2 minus y1. That's -2 minus 6, which is -8. So -8 squared is 64. So now we have 49 plus 64. Alright, now that we have our two numbers, 49 plus 64, we can find the sum, which is 113. So now we have the square root of 113. And since 113 is a prime number, we can't simplify it anymore. So now we have just the square root of 113, and that's your answer. Next, a sculpture is increasing in value at a rate of 20% each year. If the sculpture is worth $200 now, how much will the sculpture be worth after 2 years? Alright, so it's worth $200 now. So that means if it's increasing at a rate of 20% each year, that means after 1 year, it's going to be 1.2 times as much. And then let's just say that value is x, right? Then the next year, after 2 years, it's going to be 1.2 times as much. So let's just say that's y. Y is what we're trying to find right here. So let's do this. So first, 200 times 1.2. 200 times 1.2 is 240. So x is 240. Now we have to find 240 times 1.2. 240 times 1.2 is 288. And that's your answer. Alright, that's it. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, please make sure to show your support. These videos take a lot of effort to make, and I would really appreciate it.